Welcome to the Lookout Post. This is B. Neverland, your host. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's episode is mind control, Satan's subtle tool. Mind control has been a term that has been used from the 90s, 80s, 70s, you name it. Mind control, mind control. He's under mind control, brainwashing, this, that. But we hear that and we hit, it's very cliche to say, oh, he's under mind control. But what does that truly mean when a person is under mind control? What causes a person's mind to be controlled? This is what I want to tackle. We're going to get into the origin, and we're going to get into how mind control has taken over our society and how we now are being controlled. The controlling of our mind is a plan of the wicked. As scriptures say, spiritual wickedness in high places are the ones who have created this mind control. Since the 1800s, man has been hell-bent on controlling and manipulating the mind of man through ways socially or mentally by infiltrating the mind with crafty works, as the scriptures say. In 1882, the first work of behavioral science research was established. Most of the early medical and psych techniques involved mind control, pioneered in Germany. Kaiser Wilhelm was the originator. The first military project was called Project Monarch, Nazi mind control. The monarch is the butterfly. This is why celebs and entertainers love this image of a butterfly. We see it all the time, don't we? Butterfly tattoos and butterfly songs, and we think it's just so peaceful, and because it's gracious. This is their mark that shows that they enjoy being under mind control and that the masses are under mind control as well. Subliminally, we have no idea. Before I go on with the message, it's imperative that we go to the scriptures. Let's go to Proverbs 4, verse 23. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Keep your heart with all diligence. Be watchful with your heart, meaning don't let anything enter into it. Be careful with what you consume into your heart and into your soul. For out of it are the issues of life. The things that come out of our hearts are usually how we live our life. It's usually who we are. What's in our heart determines who we are. Mark 7, verse 9. And he said unto them, full well, you reject the commandment of Yah, that you may keep your own tradition. They reject the commandment of Yah, the commandments. We know the commandments, the 10 commandments is what he gives us to keep in his ways. Because since we could not take on the commandments, and that because of this, each man will perish, Yah was sent into the world that he may take on the punishments, that he may take the judgment that was for us, because we could not keep the commandments. So Yah has went to the grave, suffered, went to the grave, was buried, and he rose, and now is at the right hand of the Father. But they reject that. They reject the doctrine of Yah. They reject it so they can keep their own traditions, their own ideologies, and things of their own nature, lies, deceit. So mind control was passed down from German pioneers. I have jotted down 5 different areas, 5 divisions of mind control. You have the media, the news. You have marketing and advertising, education, healthcare, and technology. Let's start off with hella weird, Hollywood programming. They call it predictive programming. Is the manipulating of the psyche. The government has been using hella weird to display their agendas and their ideologies for decades. We line up to go to these movies and eat popcorn. We spend our hard-earned money. We can go out and enjoy ourselves. We look to movies for entertainment. We look back at all the old-time movies, the old sci-fi movies, of how they all showed UFOs and aliens, and it showed all of the digital, the uses of digital. Star Wars showed us holograms, and even Max Headroom. I remember Max Headroom in the early '80s, with the Max Headroom head. The talking head was a hologram, but that was back then. This is why they call it predictive programming. I'm gonna bring up this article. I'm gonna share this article with you guys, and we can get a better idea of what predictive programming really is. Predictive programming is theory that the government, I believe it's more than a theory. I believe it's reality. It's a theory because we can't prove it, but I feel it's reality because it's true. Predictive programming is the theory that the government or higher ups are using fictional movies or books as a mass mind control tool to make the population more accepting of planned future events. That's exactly what they're doing. So, for example, let's take Independence Day. Independence Day was a movie in which you had Will Smith and the other dude there, I forgot his name, where they were secret agents, right? And they were fighting aliens. Now that movie, we looked at it and we laughed and blah, 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 and we thought it was cool and it was entertaining. But don't you know now they're talking about the government is reporting alien sightings, and that the Pope is saying how he has information regarding aliens that he's not ready to release yet, and the government has information as well that they want to release to the public, but they're not ready to release it yet. All these speculations of alien contact before this was unheard of, before this was preposterous, right? Before this was ridiculous. You like, aliens, come on, dude. And they kept pumping aliens. Each, all these movies. You have Star Wars, you have Star Trek, you have all these movies where they're beaming up. This was described and proposed by researcher Alan Watt, who defines predictive programming as predictive programming is a subtle form of psychological conditioning provided by the media to acquaint the public with planned societal changes to be implemented by our leaders. Bingo, you got it, buddy. That's exactly what it is. If and when these changes are put through, the public will already be familiarized with them. So when we see movies like Contagion, they have face scanning and all that. We've seen all of that with Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those sci-fi movies. We see face scanning and body scanning.
And what we're going to be talking about today is Hollywood, predictive programming, and the secret space program / breakaway civilization. But I think that what we're going to see is that there's so many things in Ian Fleming and in Bond that will reveal, it's going to shed so much light on the topics that we've heard today that I think you're genuinely going to be blown away. Now, I am a Bond fan. I grew up watching Bond. But to learn more about Ian Fleming himself and what he did in naval psyops was, I think, yet another level of revelation beyond what you've seen in the films. And then going through the novels, I saw, again, so much more, because as we're going to see, so many of his works were actually based on real-world covert operations that were run by British intelligence and British naval intelligence. So, but what we're going to start with is this idea of predictive programming or gaslighting. What is predictive programming? Why do you say that? Well, this is, I believe, a sort of a deep psyop technique where we utilize the concept of twilight language. And this is foreshadowing in fictional film to prepare the way for, to use H.G. Wells's terms, the things to come. Predictive programming has the effect of conditioning the mass mind through the manipulation of archetypes. And I think Fleming will be an exemplar of the crossover between the intelligence agencies and the collaboration with Hollywood. Now, most people who research this topic will know about the idea of the Pentagon or different military agencies having a liaison office with Hollywood, right? So if a film director wants to utilize tanks or an aircraft carrier or something like that, then he gets the okay from the liaison office. It actually goes far deeper than that. I believe that from my research, it's from the very beginning of Hollywood that we see a tie-in to the intelligence agencies. And so this is a long-standing tradition in British intelligence, and you could see why there would be a tie-in between theater and intelligence work, because you're playing a role, you're acting, right? And that's what we see coming through in so many of Fleming's novels that we're going to get to. So I've got a couple examples here of, so you say, well, use Twilight language. What is that? Well, I think that this is actually a concept that if you've read Michael Hoffman's Secret Society of Psychological Warfare, then you know that he speaks of this concept of, from the Vedic text, what's called Sandabhayasa. And this is the notion that events can actually be written like a script. So you can have certain phenomena, certain events that happen that if you believe in higher entities, angelic forces, demonic forces, whatever, then, or God, then the notion would be that it's these higher level forces that are actually able to utilize events and that use numerology, symbology, and so forth to actually speak a language on a higher level than just, say, a written text, right? So one of the topics that I studied in grad school was semiotics. Semiotics is the philosophical discipline of studying signs and symbols. Neo's passport. Now, if we look at Neo's passport expiration date, it expires on 9/11/2001. The Matrix came out in 1999. So I'm just using this as one example amongst hundreds of predictive programming that clearly seems to evidence some kind of real-world fulfillment that I think is beyond mere coincidence. So as we move to Fleming, Ian Fleming famously said, "Everything I write has precedent in truth." Fleming is interesting because he comes from a prominent banking family. Fleming's grandfather was actually involved in the establishment of the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. And if you know about that, you know that's what would become BP, right? Which ties directly into Operation Ajax. We move to the modern film revelations. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Kubrick's 1968 masterpiece details mankind's journey of evolutionary ascent to apotheosis through technology. The key to this journey is HAL 9000, generally seen as the final enemy of man. However, it's actually HAL's deactivation by Bowman that leads to Bowman's discovery of the secret space program, which tells him to follow the monolith, right? And I didn't realize this until I went back and watched it pretty recently. I thought, man, you know, I always thought of it as Bowman pulling the floppy disks out of HAL, right? And then that's like the final confrontation of man versus AI. And then I thought, well, actually, I realized that's what triggers the mission, right? That's what triggers that screen to come on that tells Bowman, follow the monolith. That's what you're supposed to do. Terminator, James Cameron. Skynet is revealed openly. Cameron has worked extensively with NASA, with the U.S. government, on the BP oil spill, while he was also slated to film the Mars mission of late, although he supposedly backed out of that. Cameron's films are some of the highest grossing of all time: Avatar, right, Titanic. In Terminator 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20. Skynet and the AI control grid are being installed presently as coming smart cities. That's what we saw in the last two installations of this series. There is a fascinating lecture that I think you should all look up if you think I'm stretching it here, and it's the CEO of IBM. She's given this lecture many times. Her name's Jenny Romedy. She's in Singapore, or she goes to Singapore, Rio, different places like that, and she talks about what's going to happen in the smart city. And she says, you are going to have Minority Report style pre-crime. And you're going to feel so safe, right? Because we're going to know everything about you. We're going to know all your medical records and all your history. And we're going to know the crimes that you commit before you commit them. It's going to be great.
So it also says that people who believe in these theories are mostly conspiracy theorists. What is a conspiracy theorist? A conspiracy theorist is one whose eyes are open, one whose eyes and ears are open. A conspiracy theorist is what scripture says, I will give him eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to understand. That's what scripture calls discernment. A conspiracy theorist is one who has discernment and sees past the veil. They see past what's in front of them. They're not just looking what's there. They're looking behind that. They're looking behind the curtain to see who's controlling these occurrences. Because it's always something behind these occurrences. Because these occurrences are not natural. Therefore, it's supernatural. People who believe in this theory are mostly conspiracy theorists. Discernment. People who have discernment. Who think there will be a totalitarian government takeover. Which means the one world order. Revelations. Where the Antichrist system will reign. Or on the more mild side, theorists will believe tragic events are an inside job or completely fake. Like when we see 9/11, or when we see these mass shootings, or which they call psyops, psychological operations of the mind. That's also mind control. Psyops, where they put on a drill. And the thing about it is, in boldface, they would document the drill within the state, and they won't deny that they're having a drill, but they'll run the drill like a movie set. They'll run the drill as if it was real. So when they're doing the drill is a reenactment, isn't it? So you're reenacting something that may happen. So while they're reenacting, they run the cameras and say, this is what's happening. They call it a psyops, psychological operation of the mind, because it makes the masses who are watching this, they see this, it drives them to emotions. It drives them to their feelings. So no longer is logic or common sense part of the equation. It's all feelings and emotions. So you don't think anymore. You're just feeling. You're either mad, sad, or glad. But there's no thought of any of it, because you automatically assume that this is real. How can this be fake? How can this be fake? I'm looking right at it. I seen a dude put his foot on his neck. I seen him shoot him in his back. I seen the guy. I seen the people screaming, running out of the school. How can these things be fake? Satan is a powerful being. Then we have the media. We suck up all of everything that they're telling us. We watch those reporters, and everything that those reporters say, we take it for face value. We take everything that those reporters are saying, and we know that it's right. We know in our hearts that it's right. It can't be wrong. But there's no way that they will make up the news. There's no way that this could be scripted. I found out that there are only six companies that run the whole media industry. 6. At one point, it was believed to be about 50 companies that were all part of today's media. But now, we are in 2022, they are referred to as the Big 6. One of the major components in mind control is the media. What the masses consume on nightly and daily basis has been scripted and arranged to keep their minds dumbed down and stripped clean of all logic and common sense. The media is all propaganda, the spreading of ideas, information, or rumors for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. Ideas, facts, or allegations spread deliberately to further one's cause to damage. They use the media to stir the masses in the way that they want them to go. They use the media like a helm of a ship. You use the helm to stir that big ship. A small helm steers a humongous ship. A small thing that we call media stirs billions of people in the narrative in which these evil men want society to go. Let me share this clip with you guys to give you more of an idea of media propaganda and how media is ran and controlled by 6 companies, which means if only 6 companies run the whole world of media, then it is all controlled and all monitored and scripted.
Early 1980s, roughly 50 different companies owned 90% of American media. By 1992, that number had dropped to less than 2 dozen. And in recent years, that same 90% has fallen to just 6 major conglomerates. Although various mergers and layers of external control make this an inexact number, most of the big 6 hold interests in film production, cable and broadcast television, news, sports, music, and online streaming. So who exactly controls the media? As of 2015, the largest media company in the world by revenue is Comcast. Like the other conglomerates, Comcast owns nearly every step in media production and distribution. In fact, Comcast is the single largest cable provider on Earth. Content is created through subsidiaries like NBC Universal, which is then broadcast over TV and the internet through Xfinity. Comcast is also a major internet service provider, covering more than half of all US broadband customers. Even online streaming giant Hulu is jointly owned by 3 of the big 6. The next largest conglomerate is the Walt Disney Company, with reportedly roughly $48 billion in revenue. Disney has holdings in theme parks, movie studios, and diverse television networks such as ABC, A&E, and ESPN. They also own a number of legacy companies like Pixar, Marvel Entertainment, and Lucasfilms of the Star Wars franchise. The third of the big 6 is 21st Century Fox, which emerged in 2013 as a spin-off of Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. Today, Fox makes about $32 billion a year and is predominantly focused on film and television, including Fox News Channel, which made nearly $800 million in ad revenue in 2014. The last independent conglomerate is Time Warner, with revenues of about $27 billion. In the 1990s, they were the largest media company in the world, but an unsuccessful merger with AOL at the peak of the dot-com bubble made them lose nearly $100 billion in 2002. Since then, AOL and Time Inc., as well as Time Warner's entire cable division, have become separate companies. Because they are now unrelated, Time Warner and Time Warner Cable are the 4th and 5th largest media companies in the world, according to Forbes. Finally, the last 2 are CBS and Viacom. In 2013, they reported about $14 to $15 billion in revenue each.
Marketing and advertising with the same companies. They even control what we buy. We're deceived into thinking that as consumers, we have a choice and are free to purchase whatever brands we desire, right? That's just what we feel. We feel that when we go to the stores, that when we purchase certain items, we purchase items versus the other items that we may see. Next, we have marketing and advertising. We feel as though we have a choice and are free to purchase whatever brands we desire without being controlled, right? You figure that when you go to these stores, as a consumer, you have your choice as to what you want. You buy whatever you feel is the best, right? Wrong. When we purchase products by brands, we feel that they are superior to the others or inferior to the others. We will see that the choice is just an illusion. There are no choices. The brands we decide to buy are decided for us. One says, I like Colgate. The next may say AIM or Crest. It's all under the same company. McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all under the same company. They make it as though they're in competition with one another, but the money is going down the same pipe. That's deception, because you feel you have a choice. You say, I don't like Wendy's. I don't like Burger King. Wendy's is better than Burger King. They're going to knock Burger King out. Are they really? Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, And all of these fast food joints, they all are sharing the same pot. So while we're thinking that these are different food places and that this one is better than the other, they're all the same. They're all ran by the same people. They're all made by the same manufacturers. It's all the same companies. We think that we are in control of what we consume, but we are not. Algorithms have now become your unwanted advocate while shopping online or even just browsing online. You notice that when you look up something, especially when you're shopping, you may not even look at it, but you just see something you like it, right? You get out of that, and when you open it up, that same thing that you looked at reappears. Now there's a whole row of them, right? You was looking at a sweater, right? Or like a Champion sweater or something, and you were just glancing. You wasn't going to buy it. Then you close. Now you open it up, and that same Champion sweater is there alongside of a whole row of them. You got blue ones, black ones, red ones, yellow ones. They got different prices, different sizes. And now they're even offering you some for the wife and kids. When all you was doing was just browsing. Not even browsing. You were just going, flipping through. It was an ad. How about that? It was an ad. It was an ad, and you happened to click on the ad. So it was already a line. It was already a line thrown for you. You bit the line to get another line. So you bit the line to jump into the net. You jumped on the line, and then once they had you by the line, now they just threw you in the net of the millions of others. They force the products on you as trolls throughout your searches and interactions while remaining in the same IP. So whenever you're on the same IP, they are just running through everything that you're looking at, and anything that they can represent to you for you to buy it, that's what they're going to do. And of course, I have a clip to go with this as well.
Our market is totally saturated with products. They've all got different names, different looks, and probably belong to someone else. But is that really true? Well, no, because most of what you find in the supermarket actually belongs to one of 10 companies that dominate the world marketplace. Kraft Foods. This company provides just about everything that has to do with food. However, in 2015, it was split into 2 independent companies and is probably known to most people in Germany as Mondelez. Do you know everything that the brand produces? Here are some of the most popular examples. The company has brought us the delicious drink powder Kappa, Philadelphia cream cheese, and Toblerone. By 2012, they were even producing our favorite spaghetti. But that's only a small part of this massive company that's represented in 155 countries. Mondelez is the 3rd largest food manufacturer in the world, just behind Nestle and PepsiCo. The company has 8 locations in Germany alone. Number 7, PepsiCo. For decades, PepsiCo had a bitter struggle with the Coca-Cola Company. In December 2005, they finally succeeded and overtook Coca-Cola in market value and peak market share for the very first time. And thus, the soft drinks company became known to us with the purchase of a brand Punica. Additionally, they're also the owner of 6 major brands: Pepsi, Rockstar, Tropicana, Frito-Lay, Quaker, Gatorade, and many other small brands. In Europe, we also know Mountain Dew and 7-Up, but the company sells not only drinks, but has also expanded their product portfolio steadily and now produces edible products. P&G. The abbreviation P&G may not be as common as Coca-Cola and Company, but it's at least just as influential in terms of consumer goods. Over 90 years, the company has made its name acquiring traditional brands like Old Spice, and today they're mainly known to us through their brands like Gillette. But there's probably a P&G product in your possession no matter what room you're in right now. If you're in a bathroom, you can find Vela or Charmin. At your desk, there's Duracell batteries. And on the sofa, you've got that can of Pringles. These are only a few of a huge range of products that you can probably recognize anywhere. Next up, number 2, Johnson & Johnson. Have you already heard of Johnson & Johnson? Maybe not, because the company actually hides behind various names. However, if you're in a drugstore or a pharmacy, it's difficult to avoid them. Every girl, for example, is probably familiar with their OB brand of tampons or use their products to put makeup on or take it off. There's the famous Pentaten cream or even Neutrogena that are also produced by this US company. The pharmaceutical company is also not without scandal. It had to pay a 2.2 billion euro fine in 2013 after they were caught bribing pharmacists to sell their untested schizophrenia medication to people with dementia, children, and the disabled. Last but not least, number 1, Unilever. The distinctive U with its floral patterns is something we've all seen many times before, especially if we ever looked at the back of a shampoo bottle. But there's a lot more to this British-Dutch company than Dove, Axe, and Douche Das. Unilever also has a pretty well-known presence in the food industry. There's the delicious Ben & Jerry's ice cream, or the savory beefy snacks, or even refreshing Lipton iced tea. All of those would be nothing without Unilever. Worldwide sales are at an incredible 52.7 billion euros, and it's probably only going to make more and more. Well, I hope you feel a little bit more enlightened about where your products are coming from.
Next, we have education. I often wonder why, when kids graduate high school, they're leaving the nest without the proper guidance and actual wisdom and knowledge to make it in this treacherous wilderness called society, aka the world. These kids are pushed into college, regardless if it's their decision or not. It is an obligation, and especially foreign exchange students from Africa and Asia, Europe. A lot of these foreign exchange students come to the United States, to these major colleges, these Ivy League colleges, because that's the dream, right? That's the American dream, is to graduate graduate high school, go on to college, graduate college, and now you're this successful person. You are just the all-American, right? Like bucket lists. Your bucket list is done. Your bucket list is completed. You completed your bucket list once you graduated college. This is what society will have you believe. College is an obligation, and if it's not fulfilled, society, your peers, your classmates, your family, your friends will all look at you as a failure. With no knowledge of finances, business, or money management. They never taught us that, and they never will. Why isn't this taught into the schools? Why don't they teach finances? Teach the kids how to budget their money, how to save their money, how to make their money work for them, right? A lot of these Ivy League kids and a lot of these prep school kids, they teach them that there. Why is that? Because you have to pay for that, right? But public education, they don't teach you none of that because it's free, and they want to dumb you down. You want an education based on your wants and needs, you got to pay for that. So you got to send your kid to a school a school that specializes in what you're looking for. Prep schools, Catholic schools. These are the only schools that will teach the children exactly what you want. But see, what you want is not what they need. And even still, a lot of these private schools still have the curriculum of the government. Most of them still have the curriculum of the government. A lot of them are private and private curriculum and private academics. But then again, where are their education systems coming from? These are all ran by multi-million-dollar people, moguls, who care less about our children. So are they really giving them what they need to make it into this world? They leave school, they graduate with no knowledge of finances or of business or money management. But it's not. It doesn't take them to where they need to go. And it's not part of the average curriculum. You have to take separate classes. Why aren't these taught in just the basic classes with math, reading, science, history? It should be finances. It should be business. You know what I mean? It should be money management. They don't have these. They lack in that area. So when the kids come out of high school and go straight to college, they have no knowledge of how to budget and how to take care of their finances. That's why most of these college students are broke. They're dirt poor, and now they're struggling. They have a nice degree now. They may have great degrees, but they're struggling because they didn't know how to manage their money when they were in high school. So if they learned how to manage money and finances, stuff like that, they will be able to make a decent living, a nice living, a solid living while they're going to school. But they have to live like bums and hobos while they go to school. And there's no guarantee that when they go to college, when they graduate, that they'll be able to work the job that they went for. It's very slim that most kids go into what they went to school for, unless, listen to me closely, unless they have connections or family members. This is the only way. But coming straight out of college, the first thing that people are going to ask you is, where's your skills? Where's your experience? We're looking for experience. You've graduated, but you have no experience. We're looking for experienced workers. We're looking for experienced engineers. We're looking for experienced designers. You have no experience because you spent all your time in school. You was never taught how to survive in the streets, how to survive in society. They don't teach you that. They teach you what they want to teach you. They're taught mindless trigonometry and solving equations that have no bearing on your life outside of school. What is that going to do for you? You're gonna go to a bank and say 8 plus I plus pi over I over E equals Z at the bank. They're gonna call security. They're gonna escort you out. They're gonna be like, this dude's mad. This is mind control. The school system is keeping our children's mind in control by numbing them to the reality, by numbing them and making them become zoned out bots that can't hold a conversation with the opposite sex. A young boy can't even talk to a young teenage girl. Remember back in the days, we used to go to the mall and you had all the boys on one side and you had the girls on the other. And we would all just go to the mall just to meet up to catch numbers. Yo, how many numbers you got? How many numbers you got? Oh, I'm going to try to catch like 3. And we get all, you get all geared out and you looking good. You're looking at your sneakers. The girls got the hair done. They just got the hair done. They got a new blouse and new clothes and pocketbook and all that, whatever, baby hair going. Oh, man, you see him? They don't do that no more. But nothing is face to face. And this is the way they wanted it, and this is the way they have it. Without these tools, you, I, and our children are looked at as Neanderthals, cavemen stuck in ancient times. Because we're not on board with social media. We can thank Devok or COVID for this. Let's get into this clip that I put together.
Whitman recognized that crucial to a free and flourishing society are men and women who are willing to question and even resist authority when necessary. But today, very few of us live by the ideal espoused by Whitman. Rather, blind obedience is the norm. We have become populations of sheep, easily to be herded into the chains of tyranny. But what has led those of us in the West to largely shun the advice of Whitman? In this video, we will examine 2 institutions that have played an integral role in the breeding of a passive citizenry: the compulsory state-run education system, which in North America is called the public school system, and the mainstream media. Public schooling is viewed as one of the shining lights of the modern Western world. Who could question the value of an institution that provides free and compulsory education for all? But as with many institutions of our day, the textbook picture of how the institution should work greatly diverges from the reality of how it does work. If public schools taught individuals how to think, if they promoted intellectual curiosity and produced citizens healthy in body and mind, then few would question their value. But beneath the veneer presented by the bureaucrats that run this institution, a darker reality emerges. Or as John Taylor Gatto, a former teacher turned one of public schooling's greatest critics, writes, "Schools are intended to produce formulaic human beings whose behavior can be predicted and controlled. To a very great extent, schools succeed in doing this, but in a national order in which the only successful people are independent, self-reliant, confident, and individualistic, the products of schooling are irrelevant. Well-schooled people are irrelevant. They can sell film and razor blades, push paper and talk on telephones, or sit mindlessly before a flickering computer terminal. but as human beings they are useless. Useless to others and useless to themselves. Noam Chomsky echoed this sentiment, writing in his book Understanding Power, "Given the external power structure of the society in which they function, the institutional role of the schools, for the most part, is just to train people for obedience and conformity, and to make them controllable and indoctrinated. Study of history reveals that this was the intention from the very start. The state-run school systems in the West were modeled off the factory style of education first introduced in Prussia in the early 1700s. What shocks," writes Gatto, "is that we should so eagerly have adopted one of the very worst aspects of Prussian culture, an educational system deliberately designed to produce mediocre intellects, to hamstring the inner life, to deny students appreciable leadership skills, and to ensure docile and incomplete citizens, all in order to render the populace manageable, entirely strangled the holy curiosity of inquiry. It is a very grave mistake to think that the enjoyment of seeing and searching can be promoted by means of coercion and a sense of duty." After well over a decade of indoctrination in the school system, few emerge with a great thirst for knowledge and a curiosity toward the many mysteries of the world. Instead, as Bruce Levine writes in his book Resisting Illegitimate Authority, by the time a student graduates, they have been bred to be passive, to be directed by others, to take seriously the rewards and punishments of authority, to pretend to care about things that they do not care about, and that one is impotent to change one's dissatisfying situation.
Now, I have two more of these divisions of mind control that I wanted to share with y'all. But this is my time. I don't want to go too long on this. So we'll touch on the other two on the next one. So the next one will be the conclusion to mind control, Satan's subtle tool. We are in Oz, y'all, and Satan is the wizard. Technology and healthcare are the final two pieces to Satan's puzzle. We will cover it on part 2, Yah's willing. That's the message, y'all. As always, Yah bless you and your families. Be benevolent.